I were to start over with investing, these are the 3 things that I focus on in 2025. Coming from a 28-year-old mum and licensed finance creator, this is my updated investing game plan for the year. So if you're already investing or just starting out, hopefully this video can give you some ideas. As a reminder, this video is general advice only and not personal financial advice. You can read my full financial services guide in the description. Thank you so much to Pella for sponsoring this video, but I'll talk more about them later in this video. So how am I planning to invest this year? It's actually pretty simple. I'm using the core and satellite approach. Think of it like the Earth and its satellite. The core portfolio is like the Earth itself. It's steady, dependable, and does most of the heavy lifting. And then there are the satellites that orbit around the Earth, and these add a bit of spice, diversification, and more risk. But they're also really exciting. So let's jump into my core portfolio. So 90% of my portfolio is invested in ETFs. Think of ETFs like a basket of different shares in one investment. So instead of just investing in one company, you get to invest in hundreds and maybe even thousands with a single investment. I really like having ETFs in the core of my portfolio because I like to choose ETFs that invest in many different companies across the whole world. I also like ETFs because they are relatively cheap and really easy to buy. In my core portfolio, I like to have a combination of different ETFs. And here are some of my favorite ETF combinations. The first one is VAS and BGS. VAS invests in the top 300 companies on the Australian Stock Exchange, and BGS invests in the top 1,500 companies globally, excluding Australia. So by investing in VAS and BGS, you get exposure to Australia and the world without them overlapping. The management fees for VAS are 0.07%. It suits long-term investors of 7 years or more. It invests in the top 300 companies on the Australian Stock Exchange, and the top holdings include Commonwealth Bank, BHP, CSL, NAB, Westpac, and more. If you invested $10,000 into this ETF 5 years ago, you would have $14,800 today. VGS has a management fee of 0.18%. It suits long-term investors as well. VGS invests in the top 1,500 companies around the world. The top holdings for this ETF are Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and more. If you invested $10,000 into this ETF 5 years ago, you would have $18,700 today. Another ETF combo that I like is VTS, VEU, and VAS. This trio captures the US stock market, the rest of the world, and Australia. VTS is the Vanguard Total US Stock Market ETF. The management fees for this ETF are 0.03%, and this ETF invests in the top 4,000 companies on the US stock market. The top holdings are Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and more. And if you invested $10,000 5 years ago, you would have $21,000 today. VEU is the Vanguard All World excluding US ETF. The management fees are 0.07%, and this ETF is a good complement to VTS because it excludes the US. So by investing in this combination of ETFs, you get exposure to the US and the world without them overlapping. The top holdings in this ETF are the Taiwan Semiconductor Group, Novo, Tencent, ASML, and SAP. If you invested $10,000 into this ETF 5 years ago, you would have $13,000 today. And the third ETF in this trio is VAS, which we went through before. And if you prefer an ethical combination of ETFs, there's FAIR and VESG. FAIR is similar to VAS, but with a more ethical focus. It invests in Australian companies that have passed its ethical screening tests. The management fees are high though at 0.49%, and the top holdings are Suncorp, Goodman, Xero, Brambles, and more. VESG is the Vanguard Ethically Conscious International Shares ETF, and this is similar to VGS but with a more ethical focus. The management fees are the same at 0.18%, and the top holdings are Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and more. If you invested $10,000 into this ETF 5 years ago, you would have $18,700 today. As mentioned, ETFs make up the bulk of my portfolio to keep things steady and reliable. And if you would like to start investing, you can buy all of these ETFs and more with Pella. And it's actually really simple. If you have the skills to buy something on your phone, then you have the skills to make an investment. And I'll show you how it works. So to invest, I simply click here, invest in AU shares. Here I can search for the ETF I would like to buy, for example, VESG. To buy it, I simply click buy, and then I put in how much I would like to invest, for example, $1,000. And if you'd like to start investing this year, you can check out the platform that I use to invest, which is called Pella, and use my code Queenie for a $20 credit. I have a link in the description below, or you can scan this QR code. So as mentioned, ETFs make up the bulk of my portfolio, keeping things steady, diversified, and reliable because I love how ETFs just track the market. But for the other 10% of my portfolio, things get a bit spicy because I don't know about you, but I personally really easily get FOMO. So that's why I like having my satellite portfolio as well. So this is my spicy satellite portfolio. I invest invest 5% in crypto. The only two cryptocurrencies I have are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because to be honest, I used to invest in a lot of other altcoins and different cryptocurrencies, but I've been investing in crypto since 2017, and something that I've noticed over the years is that a lot of the altcoins or cryptocurrencies that I used to invest in, some of them don't even exist anymore. And since I am more of a long-term investor, I see the potential in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I've seen how these cryptocurrencies perform over the long term, so those are the ones that I'm happy to hold. Also, this 5% of my portfolio that I am investing in cryptocurrencies is money that I'm 100% comfortable with losing. Crypto has performed amazingly well over the past couple of years, but it is super volatile and we really don't know what will happen in the future. With the other 5% of my portfolio, I do like to invest in more thematic ETFs and companies that I believe in. Think innovative and high growth tech companies. And the reason why I have this 10% of my portfolio investing in the more spicy stuff is because I don't want to miss out on the potential for some of these really high growth companies or cryptocurrencies. But I also want to be able to sleep at night, so having the bulk or 90% of my portfolio invested in steady and reliable ETFs and the other 10% invested in more speculative stuff, it helps me manage the risk in my portfolio. And fun fact, did you know that the average Pearler investor is actually invested in 91% core ETFs and the other 9% is invested in individual stocks? So it seems like a lot of us have similar investing practices. And by the way, thematic ETFs are ETFs that invest in more big picture themes like clean energy, AI, or cybersecurity. They bundle together stocks related to those trends and allow us to invest in them. One thing to note though is the cost associated with these thematic ETFs is usually higher, and they are also more volatile than ETFs tracking an index. I also like investing in more thematic ETFs because I feel like I have more control over the companies that I want to support in the future, and not just invest in an index that invests in the top 300 or 1,000 companies. So that's why I do like to invest in thematic ETFs investing in clean energy and cybersecurity, because those are the industries that I would like to support in the future. So some examples of thematic ETFs are NDQ, which is the BetaShares Nasdaq 100 ETF. The management fee is 0.48%, and this ETF invests in the top 100 companies on the Nasdaq, which are mainly tech companies. The top holdings are Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, and more. Another thematic ETF is ETHI, which is the Global Sustainability Leaders ETF. The management fees are 0.59%, and the top holdings are Nvidia, Apple, Visa, MasterCard, Home Depot, and more. And another example of a thematic ETF is HACK, which is the BetaShares Global Cybersecurity ETF. The management fees are 0.67%, and the top holdings are Broadcom, CrowdStrike, Infosystems, Cisco, and more. Don't forget you can buy all of these different ETFs on Pearler, and let me know down in the comments below, how are you investing this year in 2025? I would love to hear from you. And write me a comment below with the word buffet in it, because I love seeing investing as kind of like eating at an all-you-can-eat buffet, where you can get a little bit of everything. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!